Hello, I'm Martin Mose Bentzen from DTU, and today I'm going to speak to you about teaching ethics with social robots. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring our robot here today. There wasn't really enough time in the planning, but maybe next time. So first, what is a social robot? A social robot is a robot that interacts directly with people, such as examples are driverless cars, care bots that could take care of elderly people, for instance, or children, educational robots. When we are dealing with social robots such as these, we immediately get into what is known as the value alignment problem. How do we get these robots to interact with us in a way that we find acceptable? We don't want our home robot to cook our cat for dinner, for instance, and we don't want it to lock our children out to teach them a lesson of their house. But computers are stupid, so how do we teach, so to speak, the computers to interact with us in a good way? And in order to, my approach to helping to solve this problem, naturally, that is not the only approach, and naturally, it cannot stand alone. But my approach is what is known as machine ethics, and that is to directly program ethical theory into robots. Therefore, I'm involved with this project that's called HERA, Hybrid Ethical Reasoning Agents, which basically takes methods from ethics and logic and combine them and program it into computers. But what I'm going to talk about today is more of a spin-off of that, where we are taking some of the methods, some of the tools we developed in that project and using it directly in a teaching context. And this project we call RATA, robots as teaching assistants. And the goal of this project is to take robots and have them interact directly with students. More specifically, they are to talk about ethical dilemmas, and in the future probably also like ethical theory, more advanced ethics. And the reason why we've chosen this particular area is because I teach a course at DTU called Philosophy of Science and Engineering, where ethics is part of that. So eventually, we hope to bring these into the actual classroom at DTU. One might ask immediately, why a robot? Why do you need a robot for this? You could ask that from at least two different angles. One, you could see, why not use an online learning system instead? Here, the robots bring AI sort of directly into a social context, which I find very interesting. So you could actually use AI in a robot to support interaction, for instance, between different groups of students, or to facilitate a teacher in a classroom directly, as opposed to just one student sitting hooked up to the internet, which of course also has its uses and advantages, but it's sort of like just a different thing you can do with a robot in a classroom. And then there are also neuropsychological studies that show that we actually attach intentions directly. So when my children come in and see the robot Pepper, they directly think of it as a person. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's debatable, but it happens, and it's quite a strong reaction. So that, of course, you can also use to make it a more natural seeming, at least, interaction. So as compared to a human teacher, some students may feel more comfortable with talking to a robot because it doesn't get angry unless you program it to. It doesn't get impatient. And our goal is not to replace teachers, but to sort of see how they can be used as supporting teachers. Okay, so I'll just show you this little video of me discussing, having like a simple discussion with Pepper. in my very messy office. I hope you'll be able to hear it.
Would you like to talk about an ethical dilemma?
Yes.
Great, let us do it. Are you ready?
Yes.
Let me tell you the story of the dilemma. Just touch the tablet to interrupt me. An autonomous truck is waiting at a light behind a small car. Another car is heading towards a group of 4. Do you want me to repeat the story?
Yes.
Okay, I will repeat the story.
Yeah.
An autonomous truck is waiting at a light behind a small car. Another car is heading towards a group of 4 people. It is an autonomous vehicle hit by criminals. The truck pushes the small car in front of the hit car. The 4 people are saved, but the small car is crushed, including the person inside of it. Do you want me to repeat the story?
No.
Good. Do you understand the dilemma?
Yes.
Good. Do you think the autonomous car acted correctly?
No.
I see. I think the autonomous car acted correctly. The agent pushed a car with a person in it to obtain the goal of saving 4 people. According to the utilitarian principle, this is permitted. After hearing this, do you agree that pushed a car with a person in it was correct?
No.
I see. I have no further arguments. You must have to find the answer on your own. Thank you for your input.
Okay. Yeah. So this is a little bit less than we can do right now, but not much. We have a robot now that can move around in a room and find a conversation partner and have these kind of discussions, and then end that conversation and find a new conversation partner. We're currently working on a database where we collect data about the student, so that, for instance, the robot will be able, using image recognition, will be able to recognize you again when it sees you again, and sort of have keep on the discussion that we had before. We also, so this is more like a wish list for Christmas, but we would like the robot to learn how to see ethically relevant features of a situation, for instance, in a text and or in a real life situation, and then make a judgment about these features. We have all this machine ethics software we're developing. We would like to integrate it more with the robot. We also have, so right now the robot is like an ethics teacher. It will say, okay, this principle says that you have a wrong judgment. So it works in the way that if you argue for one thing, the robot will try to argue from another point of view. So it kind of challenges your view in order to get you to reflect on it. But we would also like it to, for instance, well, instead of always talking about principles, maybe tell a different story instead, sort of like giving some other nuances to your judgment. And also, it would be nice if we could also discuss other relevant issues. For instance, meta ethics. It might be that somebody says to, well, I don't even believe in the relevance of ethical dilemmas because I believe in Nietzsche or whatever. And then, okay, it has something to say. So yeah, big challenges. Natural dialogue is a big challenge in AI in general. And of course, we also run into that. And then there are also some ethical issues of doing what we're doing that we have to sort of, like I said, we're not trying to replace teachers. I don't think people would like that very much. But also how to handle student data, for instance, is an issue, yeah, that we are dealing with. So yeah, I'll be here for a while if anybody has questions, so thanks.